going on, Headliner Nation? Jake and Kyle coming back at you today talking about ball catchers. Yes, we're talking about wide receivers, and we're going through our top 12 for each of us, and there's some differences, but Kyle, even though it's only March, it's still time to talk more fantasy football because it's way better than anything else you're watching on TV right now.
That is exactly true. Even talking about ball catchers is better than what we have going on right now.
I mean, nobody can really argue that, right? The Tiger King, maybe? I haven't watched it, but it's all over. I have no idea. It's all over social media, though. But whatever it is, it can't be as good as fantasy football. So we're going to be talking about our top 12 wide receivers, even though it's a little bit too early. Gives us a good baseline, somewhere to start. Before we get into the list, just a quick reminder. Draft guides for sale on the website, or available for pre-order, only $14.99. If the season doesn't happen, it gets canceled. Don't worry, we'll refund your money. It just gives you something to look forward to. So that's available. If you're interested, head over to fantasyheadliners.com. Plus, a lot of other good information and articles over there to check out also. But now, Kyle, let's get into our top 12 wide receivers here, even though it's way too early in 2020. And we're going to start off at the top because we match. And I have a feeling a lot of people are going to match probably the one spot at least. We both have Michael Thomas coming off of a ridiculously huge season. Yes, they added Emmanuel Sanders into that offense, but Michael Thomas is the man in New Orleans, and that's not going to change here in 2020.
100%. Yep. I'm not going to let the Emmanuel Sanders talk, even though I think that was a great signing for them. And I don't think Sanders necessarily hurts Thomas too much. I'm not going to buy into that. He's number one wide receiver, consensus number one wide receiver, probably the safest wide receiver that you could draft because you know that he's always going to have balls coming his way.
Anyway, number 2, we're moving on to Davante Adams. Both of us have Davante Adams in the number 2 spot. However, mine may have an asterisk next to it because if they draft a wide receiver early, which I don't think they will, but if they do or they add somebody else, they added Devin Funchess, but let's be realistic, that dude sucks. It doesn't really matter. But for right now...
Never Funchess.
Yeah, never Funchess. For right now, Davante Adams being one of the lone ball catchers in Green Bay deserves to be there at the top. I think he... could have had himself another huge year last year, struggled with that injury there middle of the season. And by the time it took, for him to get going, the season was just about over. Can't argue the skills. Davante Adams coming in for both of us at number 2.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to leave him here, even if they do draft another wide receiver. I think he's going to bounce back. I think having another weapon would actually help him. So I'm good with leaving him here. I don't know if there's a whole lot that would have me change my mind on that one between now and when the season starts.
Right, I'm easily influenced, Kyle. It's a downfall. That's okay. I admit to it. Number 3, I have Julio Jones of the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, Julio Jones, and I wrote a stat down, it's been 6 straight years that he's had at least 1,300 yards, and he's never had less than 129 targets over that span. I mean, the guy is going to get volumes. Everybody just wants to know how many touchdowns is he going to get. Well, if he's going out there catching around 100 balls, 1,300 yards, I'm fine with a handful of touchdowns. That is, a solid wide receiver one all day long once again for Julio Jones.
Yep. Love Julio Jones. I mean, it's going to be there. I mean, he's the one guy every single year that it's like, if you draft Julio Jones, you're always going to get production in some way, shape, or form, but people just don't seem to want to draft him as high as what he always finishes. So, and when in the 3 and 4 spot, you and I have him flipped because I've got him at 4, you've got him at 3, I've got Hill at 3, and you've got Hill at 4. So the one reason that I have Hill just slightly over Julio Jones is just, those big time plays, Patrick Mahomes being the quarterback, that offense. But it doesn't matter. If you want a little bit more upside, I think you can go with Hill. If you want to be super safe, you can go with Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing really knocking against Hill. If anything, I mean, if Sammy Watkins doesn't come back, it gives him a little bit more opportunity. They did re-sign Demarcus Robinson there. How much more do they utilize the running game this year? There's so many other options. We know about, Travis Kelce. You can't go wrong with either one of these guys. Full point PPR, I think Julio helps you out a little bit more. And Tyreek Hill is one of those guys, if you're in a standard league or a half-point PPR, a little bit closer just because he may not rack up the amount of receptions that you see from one Julio Jones. Number 5, now of the Arizona Cardinals, DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm trying really hard not to be biased, Kyle. I'm born and raised in Arizona, and I'm super pumped to have DeAndre Hopkins in Cardinal red. But being a part of the air raid offense, I just can't help but be excited. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald's on his way out. Christian Kirk is there also. We know Kenyon Drake in the backfield. I can't see any scenario where DeAndre Hopkins doesn't step into this offense and get similar targets to what he saw in Houston. Maybe slightly less, but he may get more opportunities as a part of the Cardinals. It's going to be a high-powered offense.
I personally think we end up seeing a little bit less targets for him this year. I think you're going to see. I think Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald are still going to get really good looks. I think Kenyon Drake is going to see a little bit out of the backfield as well. One thing I brought up in the running back video, if you haven't seen it, go watch it after this one. But on the running back video, I brought up playing from behind. And are they going to be doing that a whole lot this season? If they do, that's great for DeAndre Hopkins. It's going to help him. However, we were really high on Odell Beckham Jr. last year, coming in with second-year quarterback Baker Mayfield, and that just didn't end up really working out. So are there going to be some struggles between Murray and Hopkins to connect a little bit? I mean, potentially, yes. So I am going to be a little bit lower on him for right now.
That's right. I understand the argument. Like you said, though, I don't think that defense is going to be that great. They're going to be in a shootout almost every single week. That may be kind of why I have him a little bit higher right now. Number 6, I have Chris Godwin. Now, a lot of people want to go back and forth with Evans and Godwin now that Tom Brady's in Tampa Bay. Who's going to be the main beneficiary? In my opinion, I still think Godwin is a little bit safer. The yards after the catch for Chris Godwin is really what separates him from Mike Evans. He's not quite as big play dependent because he can take an 8-10 yard slant and he can take it the distance, to where Mike Evans may be a little bit more reliant on just the deep ball. In my opinion, Godwin's still the safer of the two. Got him at number 6.
Yeah, I like Godwin's ability to move in and out a little bit and find some mismatches and put him in different areas to succeed, whether it be in the slot or moving him to the outside or some different things with putting him in motion, whatever it may be with Chris Godwin. That I like a little bit more than Evans. I do think, like in a PPR league, Godwin is probably going to rack up a few more catches than Mike Evans. Still going to have Evans inside the top 12 for me right now, and we'll talk about him in a few minutes. But Godwin, for me, I do have a little bit higher.
Yep. Number 7, we've mentioned him already, and this is where a lot of people say, oh, this is some bull right here, because they hate this guy. It's Odell Beckham. I got him at number 7. He was not 100% healthy, and I'm not going to sit here and make a bunch of excuses for the Cleveland Browns last year. They had a great opportunity, and they sucked it up. Part of it, play calling wise, I did not like what Freddie Kitchens. I actually went to the Browns and Bengals game in Cincinnati, and at one point I saw Odell Beckham line up in the backfield, and even my 12-year-old son sitting next to me was like, what is he doing back there? And I have no idea. I didn't have any. I thought they were playing some weird game of Madden out there on the field. Odell Beckham is still an elite talent, an elite wide receiver in this game. I'm hoping the second year with Baker Mayfield, hopefully a little bit more leadership on this team. We didn't get the drama from Odell Beckham, which shows some maturity compared to years past of what we saw with the Giants. The talent is still there in a high-powered offense, and if this new offense under Coach Kevin Stefanski can actually make the ball move down the field, Odell Beckham's going to be one of the main beneficiaries, and he should enter the season healthy.
You don't want to make, excuses for the Browns, but I'm going to make a whole lot of excuses for the Browns.
I was hoping you would.
Beckham wasn't healthy. Offensive line sucked. Chemistry wasn't quite there. Play calling was bland. Freddie Kitchens didn't set him up. So, did they suck? Yeah, they sucked. They didn't do good at all. Not saying that, but, there was a lot of factors last year that it just nothing clicked. And that happens sometimes, but now they've had an entire season together. Odell Beckham Jr. is still a top talent in this league. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. There's too much on that offense that they can't succeed. And if they can't succeed with Stefanski, they're running the team now as the head coach, then we obviously have some more issues. But you know what? I'm going to buy into him again this year. He's just way too good to give up on.
Is it Stefanski or Stefanski?
Which one did I say?
It doesn't matter. I don't know what the correct answer is anyway. I was wondering.
Now that you say that, now I feel like I'm second guessing myself.
Stefanski. Not only do I not know, I don't care. Let's move on to number 8. Another guy who a lot of people got pissed off on. They didn't piss on him, but they got pissed off with his performance. It's JuJu SmithSchuster of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Had a horrible season, but let's not blame JuJu. Remember, Big Ben got hurt, week 2, and he was done for the year. He had to deal with a revolving door of quarterbacks there between some dude who likes to call ducks and another dude that, Mason Rudolph, who's like a trust fund baby. I don't know what it is. I mean, there's a whole lot of things going on in Pittsburgh last year that was an absolute mess. And then you add on top of that, he was not 100% healthy. But don't forget, just last year, this guy was in arguments to be a top 10 overall fantasy football pick overall, not just wide receiver. The volume is there, and if Big Ben is healthy or they add one of these key veteran quarterbacks as a backup in the offseason, I love JuJu again.
I never really understood all the hype about JuJu last year, because people were like, just because Brown is gone, JuJu is now one of the top overall wide receivers. Like you said, top 10 overall pick, definitely a first round pick in a lot of leagues, if not first round, early second round. Some people had him as a top 5, top 3 wide receiver. I wasn't necessarily that high on him. Did I see as bad this season going as it did? No. But, having it, he's going to be better this year. I've got him at 10, Ben Roethlisberger being back. But I think the progression of James Washington and also having Deontay Johnson on that team now, both of those things are going to help take the pressure off a little bit. So, but is Roethlisberger going to be healthy? Can he play the entire season? If he can't, if they can invest in a guy like Jameis Winston to come in and be the backup, now you're talking about a little bit more of a foolproof plan there instead of him trying to play with these other 2 quarterbacks.
Agreed. Number 9, another disappointment for some people last year. Cooper Kupp for me got him all the way up number 9. And that may be a little high for some people, but we know that there's already trouble there in LA. Brandon Cooks sounds like he does not want to be there. There's a chance that he may not be there this year. There's some disgruntledness going on there for the Los Angeles Rams. And Cooper Kupp, despite starting off super hot, kind of got a little cool there middle of the year, but he was really saving people down the stretch because he kept scoring touchdowns. And that's where he's really efficient. When they get in the red zone, Jared Goff looks for Cooper Kupp. And even though the yardage took a dip last year, you saw the high ceiling beginning of the year, and you saw the touchdown upside end of the year. With no Brandon Cooks in the mix, we could see a lot more Cooper Kupp. Plus, no Todd Gurley in the backfield.
Yep, no, Todd Gurley is going to be a big one. Have to wait and see what happened with Brandon Cooks. I mean, Cooks is the guy too that is an injury waiting to happen, to be honest. I mean, he takes a lot of really, really hard hits. He's had several concussions. He's always one hit away from what?
So he's always concussed.
He's always one hit away from missing some sort of an extended period. But if we've learned one thing over the last couple of years, is Jared Goff is very, very, very comfortable with him. So we'll wait and see what happens with this offense. If there's some other moves to be made, what can they end up doing? But Cooper Kupp is especially in PPR leagues and even half PPR is going to be another pretty safe option for you. Would I want him as my wide receiver 1? Probably not. But if I could have him as my wide receiver 2, if I could invest in a big time running back to start off, a good wide receiver in the second round, and then a Cooper Kupp after that, I'm good.
Yep, agreed. Number 10, I got Kenny Golladay, one of your Lions, got him inside the top 10. Now, Marvin Jones came out the other day, and I don't know if he was intoxicated or what was going on, but he said he wanted 15 touchdowns in 2020. He found some of the good stuff, but in my opinion, Kenny Golladay is still going to be the man. Don't forget, he had to deal with the majority of the season with David Blow. Yes, I know his name is David Blau, but I don't care. He still blows. He had to put up with a lot last year and still produce solid numbers. Kenny Golladay is a big play waiting to happen. Is he going to go out there and rack up 125 receptions? He's not Michael Thomas. However, he has that big playability. He does get the target share, and he's looked at in the red zone. Still got him inside the top 10 right here at number 10 for me.
Yeah, Kenny Golladay, I mean, exactly, with David Blow, however you want to go ahead and pronounce it. Still was able to put up some numbers. So is Stafford going to be back? Is he going to be fully healthy? One thing to keep in mind, too, with Detroit, They re-signed Danny Amendola. They also brought in Geronimo Allison. So those are guys that they can put in the slot to kind of help take off some of that pressure. Can Kerryon Johnson be healthy and in the backfield this year? Can they get a full season out of him? I mean, Detroit's offense, is always had potential. And to start last year, Stafford was having one of his best years ever. Unfortunately, ended up going down with the back injury, but there's a lot of promise there. Now, another thing too, the defense pretty much sucks. They just lost their top cornerback in a trade. So that's a lot of throwing opportunities for Stafford and Golladay.
Yeah, the word sucks and Lions, they are quite synonymous with each other. Yep.
Yes.
Number 11 for me is somebody who you don't have inside your top 12. For me, it's Allen Robinson, Chicago Bears. And a lot of people may not agree with Allen Robinson being this high. However, last year, don't forget, he finishes a top 12 wide receiver last year also, and he was really the one piece that was consistent in this offense all season long for the most part. David Montgomery, they just could not get him going. They couldn't commit to a running game. Anthony Miller at times showed flashes, especially down the stretch, but Allen Robinson was the one guy that all year long was involved on a weekly basis. The target volume was there. He's an uber talented wide receiver, has a nose for the end zone, can get the 50-50 ball, and he's going to be the focal point again this year. They really don't have a solidified identity in Chicago. Allen Robinson is, my opinion, their number one option, and that's why I have him so high.
Well, the key words there that you used was, their identity. And that's what concerns me a little bit with Allen Robinson. That's why I have him outside the top 12 right now. I think we're going to see a little bit bigger of an increased role for Anthony Miller this year. I mean, we saw it a little bit towards the end of last year. He popped up there for a few weeks and was a nice surprise for several people, especially for me, because I was all aboard Anthony Miller last year and it didn't work out to start. But there was a lot of questions last year about what are they doing with this offense? They weren't utilizing Anthony Miller at the beginning of the year. David Montgomery, they just would not give the ball to. And don't forget, too, they brought in Jimmy Graham to play tight end. So Jimmy Graham, who knows, maybe he has a little bit of an impact on the roster as well. I don't love Jimmy Graham. He's not going to be a top tight end option for me. However, he's a guy out there who could suck up some targets. I mean, Trey Burton and the guys that they had at tight end last year on this team sucked. They were not good. They didn't do anything. They were not utilized in the game plan. I can't imagine them signing Jimmy Graham and not trying to utilize him more than what they did last year. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. I'm not banking on Jimmy Graham being like a top 12 tight end for me this year, but I think it's going to be enough. Add in giving David Montgomery the ball a lot more, add in Anthony Miller. I think we're going to just see some of that focus pulled away from Allen Robinson. I think he'll be ultra efficient, but some of that volume leaving him worries me a little bit.
Well, we both agree on one thing, Kyle. Jimmy Graham sucks. Number 12. This is where I have Amari Cooper, a few spots lower than what you have Amari Cooper. And listen, I was super critical of Amari Cooper 2 years ago. The hashtag Amari Pooper lived on for quite a while on this show. Once he went to Dallas, he started to turn things around. However, it kind of just concerned me middle of the year last year. We kind of saw that lackadaisical Amari Cooper at times. The talent's going to be there, right? Michael Gallup, I expect him to take another step forward. Dak, he's still playing for a big contract as of right now. I mean, that could change before the season starts. They have Ezekiel Elliott. What is this offense going to look like with Mike McCarthy? There's just a lot of question marks for me. I don't dislike Amari Cooper. I just can't put him up there in the top 10. So I'm going to keep him right there just outside at number 12.
Yeah, I do have him at 7. I think one of the first times Headliner Nation started to trust me was when I went against your Amari Cooper, and I was like, I'm not getting off the Cooper bandwagon. And people are like, maybe Kyle's onto something. I think Headliner Nation is still pretty split on Amari Cooper or Amari Pooper. Hashtag, what was it? Hashtag Amari Pooper or hashtag always Amari. I think we're the two battling.
Something like that.
But anyway, I digress. I've got him a lot higher. Number one option in there. Showed great chemistry with Dak Prescott. Michael Gallup has been a great compliment to him and being able to help in that offense. You still have Ezekiel Elliott, so you have to pay attention to the run game. Tony Pollard is a guy that maybe we see him work in the slot a little bit this year. Maybe we see him work out of the backfield. That could help. That offense is just too good for me to not have Amari Cooper higher than 12. So I've got him up at 7. And then the one guy that I have inside the top 12 that you did not, that you admitted, was Mike Evans. Mike Evans is still just too good for me not to have in the top 12. The guy continuously balls out every single year, plays extremely well. And he's a guy kind of like Julio Jones. It's like every single year, it's like, I'm going to think of 100 reasons why I don't really want to draft him. And then by the end of the year, he ends up being just fine anyway.
Yep, agreed. And I have Evans right there outside the top 12 at number 13 for me. I do agree he needs to be up in there. He was arguably the favorite target of Jameis Winston, and now that Jameis is out and Brady is in, who's going to be Brady's guy? Kind of why I have Godwin a little bit higher, but I don't disagree. He's still going to have a pretty solid season overall, but we didn't, disagree too much. We have a few players in some different spots, but once again, just to reiterate, don't get butthurt on rankings in the beginning of April. The draft hasn't even happened yet. Once the draft happens, these are going to shift around based on, what takes place on those nights. So, this just gives us a good baseline to start off with, and we can build from here. That's what it's all about, but we're going to stay interactive. If you see somebody different, more than likely we're going to get the trolls that come in here and tell us how much they hate Odell Beckham. We have come to expect that, but you know what? If you're going to leave that comment, also put, who would you put in his place? Where do you see him actually at? Try to give yourself a little bit of credibility instead of just coming in here and saying the rankings suck because you got Odell Beckham in there. It makes no sense. Let's try to come together as a community and put together the best possible rankings we can, because we're all in this for the same reason, right? We want to go out there and dominate our fantasy football leagues, take home trophies, take home money, a lot of other things that people take home. Dollar bills out there flying around, whatever it may be, we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. So let's help each other out. Appreciate your time, Kyle. I love doing the rankings videos. I like when we disagree a little bit. When we always agree, it's not quite as fun. We can disagree with class. That's what we're going to call it.
That's what we did. We did have a little bit of a disagreement. We hear that from Headliner Nation every once in a while. Jake, we'd like to hear you guys disagree a little bit more often, but we don't want to disagree just to disagree.
Yeah, we're going to still keep our original thoughts. I'm not going to just fake it over here and act like I don't like somebody. But, leave those comments down below. We greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you hit those the like button for us. Right now, views in the off season, they're just not what they normally are. So show us a little bit of love and hit the thumbs up. If you're new here and you enjoyed it and you're looking for more NFL content, you've come to the right place. Hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate the support, and we look forward to talking to you guys here in the future. Have a good rest of your day. Have a good one.